the trenches with Kaz, and as you can see, I'm not here alone. The door got left open, the vermin has crept in. We have Simon Powell, the Raffy, who's here with us to be the yin of my yang, the back scratcher of the bane of my existence, and naturally he's got his dry brushed hair here. So, Simon, before we go on and talk to the lovely people of the comments section, before we invite the trolls in, mate, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, the man behind the name. You there?
About me,
Raffies.
yeah, the Raffies. Okay.
As articulate as the yes vote.
So I was getting an echo from the YouTube and the other. Um, I served from 1990 to 2002 in the Air Force as a clerk supply. Logistics is an unappreciated area of expertise. I was based predominantly in the Northern Territory at just outside of a little town called Catherine, called RAF Base Tyndall, where we supported operations with the FA-18 Hornet. I also worked out of RAF Base Glenbrook in New South Wales and RAF Richmond in New South Wales in my 12 years of undetected crime. Is that about it?
That's all good, mate. And what do you do for your pastime now?
I am retired hurt, sort of, kind of.
Okay.
I'm
Hurt
currently
feelings
unemployed.
or
Hurt my feelings. I got
okay. That's
I
not true. Tell us what you did today.
yeah. I have some part-time work at the moment. I transport horse semen around New South Wales for a mate of mine who's a veterinarian. Um, he um he is an expert in the artificial
Mate,
insemination of horses.
you're really
I
broken
just
up.
I'm
The
broken
horse
up.
cheese, it matters how you got it out, how you extracted it. It
Two
just matters
hands,
how you extracted it, mate.
two hands for horses
Okay.
is all I can say.
Uh, yeah. Well, mate, righto. Well, we're going to go from here. We're going to whack this up for a second. Are you willing to be a guest on the panel tonight as we explore the gun debate? If yes, then click the link. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look down here and see what's going to happen if I do this. Now, the comments for some reason aren't showing up here. So I don't know if it's going to show up on yours, but bam. If I send that through, one sec. Let's see what happens here. If you send that through, you everyone, you'll be in the backstage, the green room. And if you're a twit, we can kick you off in a hurry. But what we're going to do first is we're going to actually outline the rules about not on gun, on you speaking tonight. Just don't be a dickhead. But it's going to be about the actual rules of Australia. So the topic tonight is about gun laws. Should we have the guns basically more relaxed? Should they be more available to people? And if so, who should get them, the special allowances? Who should regulate this? And basically what else happens in and around that? So we've got someone who's just popped up there. We're going to allow 3 people on at once because I still want to be able to control the great unwashed as we speak. But this will be interesting to see who turns up. Guys, don't let your emotion get before your common sense on this topic tonight because it's a quick way to not be heard. Hobo, I really appreciate your comment earlier on. But at the end of the day, mate, we've all got an opinion, but don't attack people before you even know the way they think. If everyone had to come on and actually liked what you were saying, it would have been too late. You'd already attacked them and probably put them off. So Bailey's hat, g'day, mate. Anyway, heard you were in hospital. What happened? Mate, I'm still pretty stuffed up. The doctors don't know what's going on. Can't feel my left foot. It feels like the dentist has been in there with the needles. and my arm is gimped and not working. I can't even hold my phone up properly. I can use this mouse, but other than that, any lateral twisting, and this arm feels like there's someone doing a seance on it. Got to love the debate. Okay, so we're in Australia, naturally very, very different to America. America's got a whole bunch of problems, and the one problem they don't necessarily have is guns as a problem. What they've got a problem with is mental health and a lot of culture that is tied into a problem in America that will not be fixed by gun legislation. It may be assisted. Remember that there is 120 guns per 100 people in the USA. All you're going to do by putting in gun buybacks like 1996 Australia is, one, you'd never be able to afford it. Two, the other problem with it is that you're going to take the guns off the taxpayer, the legal person, the person that obeys the law, not necessarily the person who wants it for drugs, etc. Let's see. We've got a lady trying to come in now. I know her name, her real name. Let's see how she goes. Hello, Foxy. How you going, mate?
Hey, Kaz. Good yourself?
Pretty good, mate. Pretty good. Great to have you here. I love what you do with the camels, mate. And we're not talking about something sexual here, you filthy rats in the comments.
Of course not. Of course not.
Mate, so we're going to be talking tonight a bit of common sense about the weapons and some of the hyperbole and some of the what would we call it? Some of the hypocrisy of those that are in charge of us that have tax-paid gunslingers who are paid by the taxpayer to protect them using a gun, judges, politicians telling us, the taxpayers, highly qualified weapon users, that we're not able to protect our children with said gun.
Yeah.
Having said that, I don't know what my stance is on the gun. Yeah. Sorry, mate?
It's a bit of a hard one.
Sorry, Foxy?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hard one for sure. I think it's on a case-to-case basis, Kaz, depending on your locality, your experience, and what you need it for. I do agree some of the laws do need to be relaxed for like farmers, etc., where they need that sort of stuff for pest control. And then you've got your shooters as well. So if you were to be part of a shooting society or gun club, the rules and regulations around there are very, very tight, and that puts a lot of people off the sport.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And look, it's one of those ones where you basically just said it then. It comes down to a common sense sort of thing, and we presume that the common sense will be there. I'm not sure how old you are. I consider you're a lot younger than me.
No, but 30.
How old are you? 30?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm 52, about to turn 53 in a few months. You know, and I'm 30 years younger than Gandalf, who's sitting beside you. But I was actually in the military in 1996 and actually already had an SKS. You would call it an assault rifle. Probably seeing people using it with Hamas. And I had that. And I will admit the gun laws in 1996 and before that were loose as shit. You know, you could go to Hall's gun shop in Townsville. As a matter of fact, sports competitions and mill skills, you could get given a weapon as a prize. You know, and your civilian weapons were in the armory, but you could grab basically the service weapon. You could buy an SLR. You know, you could buy a Mauser, you could buy an SKS with folding stock with bayonet attached, all of these different things, Anaconda, pistols, all that sort of shit. Was a bit crazy. In the wrong hands, yeah, it absolutely was. But I think when we presume common sense, it can get crazy really, really quickly. And then it comes down to a category where, you know, you've got to ask people why do they want the weapon, don't you? And at the end of the day, you know, the one thing that I would be saying if someone said, why do I want a weapon? An M4 would be my choice or an M417 is because it's just fucking awesome. But that shouldn't be a reason to be able to have one. And I get that. And we've got some questions here that will feed down into here in a moment. If I can get the people in comments to actually send your questions at, you know, lovely Raffy, okay, and also to Foxy, that'd be appreciated. It'd be great if you could answer some questions because you're both articulate as well. I've got Happy Hobo down there in the green room, but it looks like he's wearing some mask, doesn't want to show his face. So I dare say it's not going to be something polite. Therefore, I'm sorry, Hobo. I'd have to have an.
Yeah.
I'd have to speak to you another time. If you're not willing to show your face, I'm not willing to put you on live. You know. Yeah. Right, I shoot it down under, and I've read the laws all across the country. Well, we're going to do that right now, as a matter of fact, just so we do know what the laws are here, team.
So,
I'm just going to read these out quickly, guys, and thank you very much for this. How we got to where we are. Okay, so we know in 1996 there was a shooting in Port Arthur with Martin Bryant that meant that John Howard went over emotional and cut down the gun laws and said, that's it. Just like what happened in New Zealand, no one's allowed to really have a gun, despite the fact there was no gun crime at all, basically, in New Zealand. So from there, what there was a massive buyback, you know, and a lot of people made lucrative amounts of money on some weapons, but at the same time, there was no vote on this. There was no, hey, look, is this the right thing to do? It's just this is happening. There was no my body, my choice example. So documentation required for gun ownership in Australia. The first thing you need is a weapon license. You must be at least 11 to 17 to get a miner's license. Okay, so your genuine reason, righto. Your genuine reason can be for pest control, target practice, or a shooting range, animal welfare, or rural occupation. If you have a park rangers license, etc., hunting recreationally, or if you collect firearms, you have to prove you have a genuine reason to apply for the weapons license. Interestingly, and this is what brings us there, Foxy, to the point that makes me angry, is the politician, as we said, can have and judges can have taxpayer-appointed protection that costs hundreds, if not millions of dollars a year. The one thing that you are not allowed to ask for a weapon for a gun license is for self-defense. So why do they get millions of dollars of defense while telling you that you're not even allowed to have one for defense? Would an answer for this potentially be military serving people beyond a certain level of qualification and law enforcement actually get to have a weapon at home for not just self-protection, but for potentially a greater ability to be able to protect the civil community? If I can protect them as a soldier when I'm off duty, which is never, neither are you guys, off duty, and you can help in a flood, you can help in a cyclone, you can help in this, that, and the other, why should you be able to not be able to assist someone down the street with something other than your hands?
You know? I think that does come down to another, like, it's that those what if sort of questions that you'll get thrown at you, like, what if your house got broken into? What if that firearm was not in your possession because of XYZ? Then you've got all the you know, you've got to have a safe for it. You've got to have your ammo separately. There's a lot of things that can come into play there and make it a bit messy. So it might not be the fault happens underneath your control, but someone else coming in and screwing it.
And an example of that is that ring was worn by, because anecdotally, it'd be very easy for everyone to go, oh, but my views is because of this, whatever. I get that. Okay, but this ring, you know, was worn by my uncle Stuart, who apparently was a legend of Moree, and he got shot through the shoulder and it killed him, you know, before I got to meet him, which was very, very sad. But that doesn't take away the fact or make me think I absolutely am for this or whatever. You know, so I look at it and just think, does my right to an opinion absolutely allow me to make a decision based on everyone else? Because if that was the case, I could say, well, I'm Christian, Catholic, and I'm not for your body, your choice. So the people that go for no guns are normally for pro-choice. you're going, which takes the lives of far more people than what any firearms ever have in Australia, other than war.
Yeah.
So it's a sticky slope if we start to deal with each other's opinions based on, is there common sense, or is it just I don't agree with it, so I restrict it based on ignorance or just anecdotal evidence? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had the same thing with COVID too, Kaz. Did we get a say in much of that? What happened? Like, you couldn't go to work unless you were vaccinated.
None.
You couldn't go outside. There's only, essential workers. We didn't get a say in any of that as
Yep.
well. And we had to trust that it was for the better.
The greater good.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was, and funny enough, that was backed up by the gun.
Mm.
That was backed up by the cop, who held the gun. So yeah, I understand that we're not with USA, etc. I get that. Before we go on to Simon, to what your thoughts are, what types of guns are illegal in Australia? The category A are shotguns, rimfire rifles, and air rifles, not including semi-automatic, lever action, and spud guns. Okay, I threw that in there. Category B includes lever action shotguns with magazine capacity of 5 rounds or less. 5 will make you get down. Bolt action and pump action rifles, muzzle loading weapons built after 1901. Category C is pump action, self loading shotguns, magazines, blah, blah, blah. Category D includes weapons of the magazine exceeding the limits of nut rounds. However, government officials and primary producers are the only ones allowed to carry these, meaning the people, they're only allowed to carry that for the people that tell us we can't have a weapon while they're protected by those with weapons. And then we get down to H, which is for handguns, which do more devastation, especially as accidents, more than any weapon. And they're all, other than, or even with a revolver, is semi-automatic. Pull the trigger 6 times, you'll empty the barrels. Category R is for restricted weapons, including military-grade machine guns, fully automatic rifles, grenade launchers, rocket launchers, and anti-tank weaponry. But you're not likely to get that license anytime soon. So maybe every one of us should go in tomorrow and go and ask, can we please get a, what do you call it, Category R license at our local courtroom and see what they say.
Yes, certainly,
Yes,
sir.
you go, Kaz. Good to see you again. The purpose is an armed populace is preventing government right. The 96-hour rights have been stripped every year. Look at COVID. Absolutely. There's definitely some laws that have come in that we don't even know about until we break them. So that one's out the way. No worries. So what are your thoughts on that? So there's enough laws already. There is a requirement for those that actually have firearms to actually have also undergone a safety course. So with all these parameters there, they're still telling exactly what you can't have. Yeah. So, Simon, would you be in favour of gun laws being extended for home protection as long as a formal course is deemed you competent and safe, run by ex-military law enforcement personnel, which means it's an off-ramp for police or military, then to actually open up within capitalism a company that allows them to then run a military safety course that has been vouched for, which means within capitalism we're going to have the best sort of course and student ratios to allow people to be the safest, and guidelines that come down there, and maybe a double punishment for those that know better but still offend. What do you reckon?
Look, generally speaking, I would say yes. However, there needs to be some safeguards, I guess is the best word to use. You can't just have a okay, we can't have semi-automatic weapons anyway, but a high caliber rifle in a urban environment is not a good thing. You can't have if you got somebody at your front door that for whatever reason you do not want them there, you can't open up with a 50 cal that's got a killing distance, in the thousands of meters of range. You know, if it's a shotgun with birdshot in it, you're going to make your point. You know,
Well, the whole thing comes down to the reason why you're not allowed to have a weapon for self-protection is because then it can be regulated by being useless, by being in a safe that is separate from ammunition. It's a
Well,
deliberate
that's the
way.
other.
Yeah,
The other problem is that if you have somebody at your front door and you say, "Hang on a second, dickhead," walk back to the other end of the house and go, "Hang on, what was that combination again? Your mother's birthday."
yeah,
How would I remember your mother's birthday? You finally get the weapon out of the thing. Okay, where did I put the bullets? Oh, that's up on the top shelf. And hang on, 1, 2. Do you reckon I need more than 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? You go back to the front door. He's already killed the wife, the 2 kids, and the dog.
yeah. And that comes. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
There are well, the Americans, bless them, have already sorted through the quick release safe and and how you can have a weapon storage
it's on the run.
close to the front of the house or wherever you need it. And how it still activates from a fingerprint or from a quick pin code that allows for the weapon to be stored safely and in your possession quickly.
And I'm a big believer. If you can have a weapon, you shouldn't be allowed to tell me where in the house I've got it. If I've got an M4, which is my favourite weapon, tricked out, then I'll have it sitting in front of me and I'll be cleaning it, and just telling the kids, okay, you're not allowed to look at that, just like you're not allowed to look at porn.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait a sec. Simon, I'm just going to put you off there for a second because we're going to put Ranger on for a second and see what his views are. And we're going to ask if we can actually whack on coalition motivation as well. And sorry? No, you're not sacked. You'll be back on. You'll be back on.
I'm going to pop off dinner ready.
Okay. What are we having?
Carbonara.
Oh, very nice. Not camel, carbonara.
No.
All right, dude. See you, buddy. Hey, Range, how you going, mate?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for having me on.
That's okay, mate. That's okay. So, weapons. You've grown up in a time where there's no real weapons available. What are your thoughts?
I think we should have the right to defend ourselves with weapons, but I don't think everybody should have a semi-auto rifle in their backyard or having full auto.
Okay. Right. Well, you do know that full auto is also the most, what would we call it, is the most inaccurate way to actually address a situation. So I agree with you there. When you're not in control of a weapon, the first 2 to 3 rounds after that, you really don't know the extreme spread where they're going. So I agree. Yeah, and
All
as
you're
for
doing is keeping their heads down.
Yeah, with the actual argument that some people say about assault weapons, we also need to remember the 303, was a bolt action rifle, and that used to be considered an assault weapon. So any weapon you put in my hand would be considered an assault weapon. I could go overseas with anything 5.56, 308, etc. overseas, and I'd class that as an assault weapon. It'd be just the way I implement it as someone who is highly trained and professional on that tool. So always make sure you leave the words out assault rifle because that can be any weapon in particular. Is there anything else you've got there, Ranger?
I think we should have right to defend ourselves from the government in case it goes tyrannical because you never know.
Some people might have already said that about COVID, mate. We've got to be careful where we go with that one.
There's a real big problem with that. Who decides a government's tyrannical?
As soon as they start.
No,
yeah,
seriously.
So Facebook decides.
Who decides? What, Facebook?
Yeah, pretty much.
Instagram?
Yeah, that's a good problem. When they start shooting people for no reason,
problem, and my American friends can't even answer that one.
Yeah.
Who decides? Because they put this. What we're talking about is the Second Amendment of the American Constitution, and part of it says that a well-armed militia is able to take up arms against a tyrannical government, but no one's defined it, and there's no document that defines what is a tyrannical government.
And the other one on that is if you can make someone who thinks they're a patriot do almost anything and tell them you're the only one that gets it. You're the true patriot. You're Jason Bourne. The rules don't apply to you. You're the absolute rat catcher that no one knows about. That's why you're the man for the job. And that's why, Ranger, young guys, every organisation in the world targets people normally from 15 to 20 years old for that reason, because you're such a blue flame, want to be in amongst it, want to prove yourself, want to get in there. So we do need to be careful that that we don't motivate the wrong people for the wrong reasons, but also give them the ability to do so. We're going to whack a video on in a second. Ranger, do you have anything to say before? And thank you for coming on, mate. And you spoke well. Is there anything you'd like to say before we throw on coalition motivation?
Just be careful of what you join, because you never know what could happen with them.
Yeah.
And everybody have forgiveness in some ways. Like, there's certain things you shouldn't forgive, but forgive minor things. Don't hold a grudge unless it's rightful.
Can we get some thumbs up for that? Well said.
Nice one, young fella.
Yeah. Well said, mate. Well done, mate. And Merry Christmas coming up.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you all, and make sure you have all a good night and all everything.
We will do, mate. And you're welcome to come on again.
Good stuff.
Thanks for having me on. I'm probably going to watch the stream now. See ya.
Yeah. Good on you, mate. Thank you. Okay. We've got coalition motivation here.
Hey, Kaz and Rafi, how are we?
Go, buddy.
Yeah, good, mate.
Lads.
Good.
Hey, yeah, sorry about the face cam. Just don't want to chuck it up for obvious reasons. All right, so the conversation on firearms obviously can go a million and one ways, as we all know, with legislation, et cetera, et cetera. Essentially, mate, I've got a blanket thought on it, and it's pretty straightforward. I believe that Australian citizens that can pass a valid police and background check and have a valid reason, like the current requirements are, should be able to obtain any weapon up to a semi-automatic rifle, in my opinion.
Yep.
Which is a similar sort of basis to what the United States roll, except obviously we know they have a million and one different types of licenses where they can fucking roll around with. I don't remember the exact license number, but you've got YouTube channels and stuff of dudes like Demolition Ranch and stuff that can obtain fully automatic weapons in some capacity. And I feel like that should be full stop, not allowed. There's no reason to have fully automatic weapon systems, incendiary rounds, any of that in our country. But I do believe that for recreational use, sport, hunting, obviously shooting's fun, mate. Everyone likes shooting. You've got to be very careful with the words that you say in relation to shooting, as in I like shooting on the move or tactical shooting, because as soon as you say stuff like that, mate, the government doesn't like it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I believe that if you can pass a valid police check, mate, and you have a reason to do it, I think you should be allowed to obtain it, especially for law enforcement and military, mate. I believe there should be some sort of process in place where I don't have to submit a application and wait up to 6 months to get an air rifle, whilst I've just come back from a live fire exercise. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty ridiculous the way that they're rolling it.
Look, I agree with almost everything you said there. What are your thoughts on? What are your thoughts on? Like I've got written down there: soldier, retired, or serving soldier, police officer, qualified with weapons. Has got what do you call it? Not necessarily everyone that is in
proficiency,
the military per se, but has continual exposure to weapons, etc. That they are able to have a weapon at a greater level at home. Example, that they don't have to. That they could have similar to an M4 or something like that. I'm just using that as a
like an AR-15 platform type of thing.
Yeah, similar, mate.
Okay, yeah, I think that should be obtainable for everybody. Not just military or police, as long as you can, obviously, like before, pass the background checks, etc., and pass a valid reason to why you should obtain the firearm, then I think everyone should be allowed to do that. I think there needs to be an easier process, though, to obtain said firearms, and less red tape around it for members of the military and law enforcement.
What about an automatic license?
Nah,
what
mate,
about an automatic license? Should be going out. I mean, I don't mean automatic weapon. I mean automatic license to someone until proven otherwise. That is a retired, not even retired, even serving. I believe every policeman should have his service weapon and a long arm and
yeah, you cut out at the end there, mate. You cut out for about 10 seconds.
Give that immediate protection, and there should be some sort of hat that they have if they are actually responding to something. It becomes part of rules of engagement for police that are attending. That person is then able to be identified in some kind of rules of engagement way that this is someone under that special license performer without getting in the way of police operations, etc.
Yeah, in a perfect world, that would be great, wouldn't it? I think that's a brilliant idea. Like a lot of police jurisdictions in the United States roll. Obviously, police officers take their firearms home with them. However, and it's a bit of a touchy subject to talk on, but I don't think that's a suitable idea in the current climate that we live in with the mental health crisis we're having in law enforcement and defence.
I think
that having access to there you go, mate.
But until that's pointed out, until someone is actually considered to have that problem, like I've got a diagnosis of PTSD. Okay. If they said to me, because on those grounds, Kaz, we know it's highly likely the only person that's in danger is you from yourself. I get that. I'd be quite happy to go, okay, if I can't have a weapon because I've been deemed with that, I'm fine with that. I get it. The process works. But one of the fears is, and I'm not sure what your background is, but our media too often shows us police unable to do their jobs even when they're activated within the role with their firearm. And I think that brings on a bit of fear to people that even if it comes and it comes late with the roll of yellow tape, will it be there in time to actually stop the situation, especially now that we do have a mental health crisis where we've got people roaming the streets like Kensington Avenue instead of being in facilities that gives them respect, and somewhere to sleep at night rather than find misadventure and potentially take advantage of those around us that actually have repercussions for bad actions.
Yeah, it's a good point, mate. And look, I'm on board with it as well. I can't look over the fact that there's obviously people that are going to fall through the cracks that haven't been diagnosed with PTSI, PTSD, whatever conditions that may be mentally making them ill-fitting to possess a firearm. And obviously, we all know that suicide happens constantly, and there were no signs. It's always, he never showed any signs of this, and all that sort of stuff. It's those dudes that fall through the cracks that have access to firearms. And I'm not saying they're going to go out and inflict damage on other pers. What I'm insinuating is that the chance of them taking their own life with said service weapon is a lot higher because it's at easy access.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. It is a tough one.
Yeah, and I really don't have a stance on this, mate. I just thought we'd bring this up tonight because it is an interesting one. It is compelled by our government, despite the fact that we've got one of the most law-abiding citizenries in the world. That, it seems to be cracking down on more and more fun police laws, but not actually giving us anything in return, even anything to be proud of. When was the last time we saw another harbour bridge or something like an opera house or something that our youth can actually be inspired by instead of something they just keep taking away? I think we're more and more, like I love Australia. We're girt by sea, served it for so many years. So did my father and all that. But, I think our politicians need to be drawn from actual people that are leaders and actually have some judgment behind the decisions they make before they take something away. What do you reckon there, Rafi?
I think one of the biggest problems that we've got is we're all afraid to say that shooting guns is fun. We're the I don't know, the liberals are so anti-gun that any time we say that, going to a shoot somewhere, whether it's hunting or whether it's at targets or whatever it is, it's an enjoyable pastime. It is a good hobby. It teaches you a lot of things that you can pass on to other skill sets. You know, but we're not allowed to say that it's fun because all of a sudden we're bloodthirsty Rambo types that that are trying to act out Call of Duty in real life. It's got nothing to do with it.
And you know yourself, one of the most aggressively self-policing organisations actually is the army and the police force. If they were to see someone's or hunters, when you're around people that are around weapons all the time, and it's got the stage where, although it's admired, it's a tool of your actions. There's no what do we call it? There's no hesitation in the self-policing that occurs, except when we hear about this term that's come up that where someone's respected because they're loose. That's nothing to be proud of when someone is irresponsible with firearms, whether they be high explosive or whether they be automatic weapons, military weapons, etc. So sometimes our own people, really are they're philosophizing, they're cause of the reason why we don't have the rights we have. I get it. Yeah. What do you reckon there, coalition motivation? Anything else before we get onto this video and see what Gen Z think about?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. So on that last point you were just talking about, obviously you'd know that if you're in a section or a platoon or whatever else, mate, and you see someone fucking around with a gat like that, they're going to learn pretty quickly. That's not how it's done, though, isn't it? Like, yeah, you're going to sort them out fairly quickly. So that does get washed out pretty.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that
Wait a sec. Simon, just let him finish his point for a second, please, mate.
Sorry, bud. Sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah. So obviously, if people muck around with firearms and whatever else, and there's a balance. There's an appropriate and healthy balance of warrior culture, and you need to have that warrior culture within you. And we're kind of going off topic, so I'll stop here. But defense is trying to stamp that out in a way as well, which is completely ridiculous. But I'll stop my rant. Rafi, you go.
No, see what I was trying to say was that, in a controlled environment like in the army, and to a lesser extent the Air Force, we don't have the exposure that you guys do. To weaponry and different types of weapons. But it's still a enjoyable experience. I'm not saying that we, put on the, the tape around the biceps and go with the K-bar knife in their teeth and go running forth into the battle. But it's
one of the things
it's fun.
One of the things, Simon, is that the guys that are around weapons all the time, we don't look at them like that. They become a tool of the trade. We can handle it like a guitar. You can handle it with your eyes closed, all that sort of stuff. So I think the perception may be that when people are infantry, special forces, people around weapons all the time, that we're something we're not. It is a self-policing sort of system, and the proficiency on a weapon system. If someone is that notch above, it should always be there should always be competition. There should always be the influence to go harder, go quicker, go smoother, and get the job done. Because ultimately, we have to be faster than whoever is against us, even if they're the ones that want to do the draw first. We only get that way through dangerous but controlled exposure to what is closest to being reality.
Yeah, good point. Hey, just a quick one, guys, before I jump off, mate.
Yes, mate.
I believe another good technique, and when you served, mate, was there a process? Because I'm not too sure about when you were in, like before you'd go on a field X or live fire or whatever, did you have to do a weapon handling test within 2 weeks of that?
It was sort of the weapon handling tests were basically happening anyway. We average at least once 1 week a month. We were basically out field. So
yeah, okay, cool.
there was always that, and when in doubt, it was either touch footy or weapon handling or standard operating procedures or tactical techniques and procedure training continually. Someone like myself, naturally, because I'm adverse to paperwork, more often than not, my guys will always complain that we were overdoing the weapons handling, etc. What I didn't like at all was individual weapon handling at load and unload bays. I believe that should be done. It should be, if you've got a section of 8 men, then the section commander should be behind his 7 guys, and he should be giving the command to load action instant or load and action. So it is a physical command and not something where someone can be having a conversation or distraction, but also where weapons are dealt with as a when we go from one degree to another like that should be some form of policy when you're coming in and leaving a forward operating base, etc., where it's a procedure that the commander is held accountable for the actions of his soldiers from there on in.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Back onto the just on the point of me asking about the weapon handling test, I believe that if for a safety net to ensure that people aren't misusing firearms or trying to be Rambo, or they, someone that isn't intellectually there or hasn't had a practical use of a firearm, and for some whatever reason they've got a pump action magazine fed rifle or a semi-automatic rifle, if they're ever allowed. I believe there should be a process where once a month or X amount of hours a month, they need to go to a club and they need to just roll through dry drills in front of someone that's certified, and to show that they have safe weapon handling skills, figure out the trigger guard, how to load the weapon properly, muzzle, discipline, all that sort of stuff. And then they can get ticked off once a month for, 3 or 4 hour session. And then that's an extra safety net so that people aren't fucking around with guards because they're just ill-informed.
I totally agree. And I think I alluded to this before, that I think this would be a perfect off-ramp for ex-military and ex-law enforcement to give them a sense of also of self-worth, that they're making the community safer by being in a position where they're a weapons expert, and they can work then as a civilian in that role, or even in a moonlighting role as their hustle, to be able to go and do that and, again, make the community safer, but by also having someone who is current on firearms in a position around people that could potentially go off the reservation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. It's just there's so many different laws and red tape that go in multiple different directions that you also can't just speak on. Should people be allowed a semi-automatic rifle, or should people be allowed to keep ammunition in a safe next to their rifle? Because then you got to go on to the other points of when are we going to allow you to use a firearm against someone with a knife in your house? Because that's technically not allowed. You know what I mean? And it's matching lethal force with lethal force, which is that's a correct force multiplier, but it's still against the law. So there's just multiple avenues.
When someone's in your house, I don't care if they're 12 years old, if you didn't know and didn't have time, once someone's breached your perimeter, so to speak, I believe that you should be able to go one step above, just like rules of engagement, like a police officer is allowed with me in the street, is allowed to go one step above me or 2 steps to nullify that threat, so to speak.
100%.
Yeah, I never want the cop or someone in a house to feel like, am I going to go to jail if I swing this at, just say you've got a Maori comes through the door, 104 kilo guy, and you're 80 kilos dripping wet, and you decide I can't do this. So ultimately you end up upgrading, whether that be a sharp weapon, whether that be a weapon system, and go, well, it's going to be you, not my family tonight. Straight away, I'm fine with that. But again, we can twist this as much as you want, and you could use this in an AVO position or whatever, where you can reverse engineer an actual a fatal attack on someone by making it work and luring someone in and using that law against them. But we could what if forever. It really just comes down to what are people's thoughts on it, and wouldn't it be good to know that the scumbags out there actually start to take a second thought Or it doesn't matter if I'm 125 kilo bikey or whether I'm or whatever. I don't know who has the guns and who doesn't. So I'm probably better off not doing these home invasions.
Exactly, mate, and that'd also free up a lot of police resources as well if homeowners can defend their stuff. It's as simple as that. And I mean, it's going to take a couple occurrences of some 17, 18-year-old high on ice trying to kick a door in and copping a fucking bird shot through the window to the point where break and enters are going to decline very quickly. Right. It's that simple. And I mean, I know. Allegedly, I know people that have, assault and a birdshot round up in the top of their attic or in the top of their cupboard somewhere where they can just reach and grab and they can take the shot out and they're good to go. And it's a shame that they have to do that because of red tape, obviously. But, mate, I'd be happy to cop a charge to protect a family, though. I think everyone would be.
Yep. And that's what happens when we're overseas, isn't it? You've got to make a decision based on now rather than what if. If you go in there with the version of what if, then someone's going to be looking at someone else's coffin.
Yeah, and just another quick one. Sorry, mate. Just on what you've just said, that what if thing is a really bad problem right now that we have specifically in law enforcement, because nowadays law enforcement are afraid to execute any of their powers without a fucking camera in their face and being called, whatever name they're being called under the sun, and then being tried in a court. And then getting let off, like Zach Roll, for an example. I won't get too deep into it, but I mean, that poor guy hasn't even got his job back, and he was good to go. But it is what it is. Right, I'm going to head off. I'll let you chuck your video on, mate. But thanks for having me on. Thanks, Rafi, as well, mate.
Thanks very much, mate. Thanks very much. No and law enforcement's allowed to shoot me if I cross the line.
Oh, mate, same, yeah. Fucking do me good. Righto, lads. Have a good one.
All right, mate. All the best.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Stay safe. Okay, so thanks very much there, Motivation. What a great voice he had. Fantastic. I believe that police have the right to defend themselves at home. I absolutely do. What we're going to do now, team, I can see us on there, Money Maggie, Brad, let's love far out, Andy Fury. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to whack a video on because this can actually go a little bit crazy, team. This is what happens when you have a liberal group of people that may never have even grown up with a dad, let alone a firearm in the house. We do need to respect people's rights for whatever it is, but at least have some backup on the way you think. So we'll get that. Wait 2 seconds.
We also print that.
What are we actually policing? We're policing behaviors that they're only happening because our institutions are failing. Our healthcare is failing. Our wellness programs are failing. These are root issues that they cause individuals to behave in ways.
Simon, anytime you want, mate, feel free to jump in straight away because that's one of the reasons we got you on here today. We need a Rafi on that wall. If you consider joining Patreon team, the link is below. That's fine. Otherwise, jump in there, subscribe to the channel. It's here for you. It's your only channel, pretty much. And you can steer the conversation. Thanks for being here tonight. Here we go.
Just for their own sustenance.
Today, we're going to have a discussion with progressives, liberals, and Democrats about gun violence and policing in America. Raise your hand if you believe all guns should be banned. Nobody?
Obviously, semi-automatic weapons, why do we need those? Any military grade, anything, why do we need those?
Okay. She clearly doesn't know what she's talking about. A semi-automatic weapon is one of the safest weapons you can have. Okay. It means when you pull the trigger, when the safety catches off, okay, that you pull the trigger once, one round comes out, unless you're using a 3-shot designator with some of the assault weapons. Again, assault weapon can be any weapon I use overseas, being an expert with a weapon. The pistol takes more lives than any other weapon system, and on top of that, most of the weapon-related.
Okay, it's just on that, on the pistols. Why do you say that they're not as safe? Is it just because of the safety?
Everything about the pistol, is dangerous. One, it's a useless weapon against enemy. Okay, and it's considered the most dangerous weapon because it has the most dangerous space, because its barrel is the shortest, which means it only has to go a little bit that way. Okay, and it's going outside the left of arc. A little bit that way, it's going out the right of arc.
Gotcha.
You know, so
Understood.
it's got the shortest barrel, okay,
Yep.
which gives us the most amount of danger area that is created with that. And it's also because it is a weapon that has been Hollywoodized, okay, by Hollywood. Okay, so people get this sense of tomfoolery around that. Where I've even seen soldiers and police acting the fool when there's a pistol trying to replicate things they've seen, okay, on TV. And as an example of that, and I'm glad you said it, Simon, most NDs, negligent discharges, that I've seen overseas were always people with pistols,
Yep.
including people that were either just missed or people that were hit.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
That's all right.
You wanna
That's right,
hunt?
Tipsy.
I mean, it's not my thing. It's not my thing.
You're dealing with a room there of people most unlikely to know a single thing about weapon systems, and they've admitted themselves that they're a left-leaning liberal group that looks like a poster child for Australian military defence video.
But there's no need to own a weapon that can take so many lives in a matter of.
Okay, ask her about the abortion statistics for black women in America. I bet she'd be angry if you told her that it's 100 times more than gun deaths in the US.
Seconds. It does get a little bit more nuanced when it comes to, especially femme presenting individuals who find the need to defend themselves. Same goes for, black individuals who also feel the need to protect themselves in a white supremacist country.
Really?
Really?
Most crime is from African American people on African American people who also won't cooperate with police. Let's get it right.
That we live in.
Once I started to realize, like, oh, my safety is always being something that I have to constantly think about,
her.
just as someone who is femme presenting, I was like, yeah, I'm going to probably get a firearm once I leave New York City. And it's
For those that don't know what femme presented means, that means someone who's born a man that is actually saying they're a woman.
common in my area to get a firearm, but like there is a need for me to get a firearm to protect myself. I am not the fact. My statements are my statements. They do not hold a lump sum for other Black trans people.
It's difficult to nuance exactly when we should be letting people have weapons, of course. It's even harder to put into the hands of lawmakers to decide.
Sorry, Simon?
That 3 couches there's 6 pairs of balls on cushions.
No, there's not.
That couch.
That guy in the centre has been drinking soy from the drip since he was 1.
How a massive group of
There's
people
still
should be able
6
to arm
testicles on that
themselves.
cushion.
Do you know what leadership would be? Is if you could get that guy in the centre laid. If you could do that, I'll listen to your advice on anything.
Whether or not they should be able to do
He'd have to
that.
get permission from his mum
And
first.
so I don't think there's a blanket answer to say always allowed for hunting, always allowed for self-defense, never allowed for anything else. I wish lawmakers approached gun legislation with the same nuance and understanding that we should not have automatic rifles, we should not have military-grade weapons. And what is making these people want to arm themselves? What situations and what?
It's called testosterone. That's what it is. Testosterone.
Hey, just
know,
pause it for a second.
Yep.
A military grade weapon is any weapon that's carried by a member in uniform.
Correct. And one of those weapons is a shotgun.
Yeah, for what it's worth, RAFIs carry shotguns. For what it's worth, RAFIs carry a lot of pistols because when you're a pilot and you're ejecting out of a aircraft, you need to have a weapon with you because you're going to land behind enemy lines, and it's going to be you can't have a 24-inch barrel swinging in the breeze when you're parachuting down from.
I'd argue the quickest way to get tortured and killed as a pilot or someone from the Air Force is to actually have a weapon on you. They should have no weapon on them. So that when they land, it's everyone knows that when these guys hit the ground, they're unarmed. As escape and evasion courses that I've assisted on, you know,
Mm.
if I knew you didn't have a weapon, then we're going to run after you and laugh, release the hounds, and capture you and steal your helmet and change your name to Goose, whatever it is. As
Goose.
soon as you've got a weapon, then we're going to deal with you as a threat.
Mm.
This girl shouldn't have an opinion on guns, says Sam Scott. I agree. And again, if you asked her on pro-choice for life, I bet you wouldn't be allowed to have an opinion on her opinion.
I think
Okay.
using the
Communities do they
term
live
girl's
in
a
where
bit
they
of a
don't
loose
feel
concept
protected
too.
by the law? They don't feel.
Sorry, Simon. Stop waiting until the video starts before you start talking. What's going on?
It's a dude. The redhead's a dude.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Huh.
I reckon. I reckon the lady on the other side of the skinny, questionable dude that's a dude too. Full couch full of dudes.
Could be too. I wasn't looking at him like that. I'll be looking for
So,
Adam's apples now.
Feel protected by the
yeah,
police.
pretty much.
Their only way of protecting themselves is by arming themselves.
How do you guys
Bullshit.
think of self-defense kind of broadly when it comes to marginalized communities defending themselves?
I think that question is only controversial if you perceive the utilization of violence or guns or weapons in the context of colonization, imperialism, because somehow historically this country was.
The two countries that got rid of these communities was England and the USA. Get past it. Stop blaming the sins of the father's father, and judge people on their actions today. The same people that you were talking about would probably save your life as a stranger if you were in need and screamed in the night.
Was built on violence by white folk. But when it comes to marginalized.
And every slave that was sold from Africa was sold by someone of the same color. Hate to tell you.
Communities having to defend themselves, take up, weapons, use whatever means possible to have their voices heard and affect change, somehow then it becomes a problem.
Since the Tree of Life shooting in Pennsylvania, I think I probably would feel safer in a synagogue knowing that there is an armed guard there. The fact that gun violence could impact a congregation I'm in, my congregation, or wherever I'm visiting, and yeah.
Okay.
They've all just been in a circle, like that poor kid is the Alamo, and they all turned on him then as a white, skinny male.
Yeah.
Like he's the enemy, and he knows it. He's sitting there. The only thing saving his ass is he might be swinging for the opposite sex, the same sex. He looked like he needed a gun to defend himself.
And the first thing he did was bring up, well, my people got shot at too.
Yeah.
It was the only way he was going to get out of that room alive.
He's not out of that room yet.
Yeah.
So,
well, either that or they're all
how
going
do
to
you
jump him.
think, like, gun reform, gun control, gun restrictions should impact, if at all, the police?
Traffic stop officers should not have guns, especially for
Traffic stop officers, the ones that are most likely to get shot, shouldn't have guns.
Not have guns.
I don't know if we can keep watching this video.
I am ready and willing to stop when you are, mate.
All right. I reckon this one's just going to make us angry. Okay. Stop sharing that. Right.
Hey, I was reading somewhere, and you might know this better than I do. Whenever you see a traffic stop, the officer always puts either a thumb or a finger on the boot of the car as he's walking his way up to the driver's side window. Have you ever seen this?
I never get pulled over, mate. So no.
No. Sorry, I'm talking about United States traffic police. You ever see video of it? As they're walking out of their vehicle to approach the suspect driver's vehicle, they touch, like they literally put a fingerprint on the boot of the car.
Is that so they can mark it later?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Like, I only read something about it a couple of weeks ago, and when it becomes very obvious that they do it. So
Yeah.
I guess if they take off in a high speed pursuit, they say it wasn't me. We'll say, well, hang on, we've got officer such and such's fingerprint on the trunk of your car here.
It makes sense. We've got one in here. Guardian is saying she wants British bobbies. That's police for those that don't know. On the streets of Chicago. I believe all British cops now carry firearms and SMGs in their boot. And I believe that was all due to the shooting that happened where that guy lured the two female police officers at a traffic stop and took both their lives. It was terrible. It was tragic. So the questions we've been going through tonight, mate, is one, do you believe we should have the weapons? If we can, who should have them? What is our government actually scared of? Should police and law enforcement be allowed to carry their weapons or have greater liberal powers to be activated? Yeah, it's just an interesting one. I don't know what I think. I do know that I'm ineligible to have a weapon because of my diagnosis with things from military service. And I get that there has to be checks and balances.
That's the same for me as well. I've diagnosed anxiety, depression, and PTSD. And as much as I would enjoy going to a range and shooting again, I don't think I should be in possession of firearm.
Yep.
I think that America doesn't have a gun problem. America has a mental health problem. And they just
So does Australia.
Yeah, and people having access to firearms whilst they are suspect, to, you know, you know, suffering from mental health conditions. That the two just don't mix. And
Is it true
shouldn't
that an
mix.
Air Force person can get PTSD from the thought of going to Tully?
What's a Tully?
See, you've already got mental block. There it is. There it is. Wait a sec.
Let's just
There it is in the background.
Outside my living in accommodation at Tyndall, same thing.
Mate, that's that there.
10 years at Tyndall.
At Tyndall's the opposite of Tully, mate.
You reckon?
Anyway, yeah, absolutely. Well, one's got the highest rainfall in the world, and one's got none. You got the red dirt of bloody Tyndall.
Yeah, and for 4 months of the year, it doesn't stop raining.
Yeah, well, true.
There's a reason why there's these little overarch walkways that go
Tipsy.
all the way over from from one end of the raft base to the other, so we don't get our pretty feet wet. It only rains 4 months of the year.
Yeah. Well, mate, we're going to get out of here now. We're just going to let you. We're going to let you finish off. There, filthy Raffy. Is there anything they get PTSD from no morning tea? It is true. As you can see, Simon is wasting away there. Shooter Down Under says, Kev, I'd get in contact with Shooters Union if you wish to get involved in litigation, as the registry is acting unlawfully and denying your license. They've already been sued for this and lost. Honestly, Shooter, the only I don't want a weapon for the sake of having a weapon. If I was going to have one, I want it to be an M4 variant. I want it to be semi-automatic. I want it to be something that I used to have on the norm while I was serving. Okay. What I'm going to do about this, hopefully when I go to Ed B's house over in the USA in Ohio, that we'll go in and buy an M4 tricked out. He can have it. It can be the channels, and we'll get some trigger time with it there. Why would someone want a weapon? Because it's fucking cool. Because it's cool. Why do people join the army? Because they don't want a shooter's license. They want to be able to get in there and be able to use all of the weapons without anyone that gets free protection from us, to get some range time, which is getting harder and harder. This sounds like a hoochie combo at 5 when you're waiting for a valley. It absolutely does, range DLK.
Hey, did you know in the Australian Air Force, every single RAF base has a golf course, but not every single RAF base has a shooting range. Just saying.
Very interesting. Well, I'd be nervous if I saw a RAFie with a weapon. I'm just wondering, why is it? The question of the day. How come soldiers aren't allowed to have their sleeves rolled up despite the fact they've got the biggest, most impressive arms out of Army, Air Force, Navy? Air Force have got the smallest noodle arms and are allowed to have their sleeves rolled up, and they normally have the most feminine tattoos. Okay, the other one is, how come RAF and Navy are allowed to drink in uniform and soldiers aren't on Anzac Day?
Yeah, because we're attractive looking.
Bullshit.
The big thing about Raffies rolling their sleeves up, you never see them do it at Tyndall because it's just too damn hot.
That's right.
And if you're wearing Ozcam or variant thereof, you want to roll your sleeves down, so because it's cooler with the sleeves rolled down. From a heat perspective, we're talking about every single day of the year is 33 to 35 degrees and 90% humidity, and only 4 months of the year it rains.
Mate, I enjoyed having my sleeves rolled up, and for some reason I didn't die of cancer. And the same people that told me I had to have my sleeves rolled down would let you wear a singlet to watch 2 games of back-to-back rugby union, in a singlet in Townsville heat. It never made sense. A lot of things don't. Mate, we're going to get going here, Simon. We've got the great people that have been very, very patient here. I understand that a lot of you have to guard who you are, where you are, etc., and where you're from. Hit the like button if you can. And Rob C., I believe you should be in Aussie, he says, for at least 20 years. There you go. And I really do appreciate your time. We're just putting this on the table, having a conversation, allowing you to see Simon, the filthy Raffy, pal, up on the screen. And he'll get better and better as we dissect videos in the future. And sorry that we didn't get to hit all the comments tonight, but that's the nature of live streaming. Thank you very much. If there's a problem, I'll solve it. And all the best to all the infantry guys that have been marching out too.
Yeah, all the best. Congratulations.
Okay, Simon, you can have the last say.
Be cool, be safe, take care. I love yous all.
Do you really?
Yeah,
I don't love everyone.
Well,
I don't love him.
I love Brady.
Everyone.
Brady's my favourite.
All right, mate.
And Daz.
Yeah, Daz would be close.
Yeah.
I'll see you later, team, and I'll see you, Simon, at the piss trough.
Yeah, all right. Hey, are we doing lunch this week?
Yes.
All right. Lock it in.
All right, buddy.
All right.
See you, mate. Always. See you later, team. Hey, Dwayne, there you go, mate. Dwayne Duffy doesn't love us as much as he loves horses. I love him. See you later. I'm going to clean my gun now.